Marketing Monday. We're so excited you're here. Woo-hoo. We start the week off right. Well, my week anyway. I'm biased. I'm so excited to have some very special guests here today to talk about marketing and small business stuff and all the things you need to know to be more successful. We have the amazing Samantha Gasson from the Food Animal Concerns Trust here with us today. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Samantha Gasson, and I am in North Carolina. I'm actually near Brittany, and I have a farm, a Bull City farm, which is in northern Durham County. And we do diversified livestock for direct-to-consumer sales. We also do summer camps and classes and all sorts of other kinds of things. And I also work for the Food Animal Concern Trust, which has a humane farming program, which is what I work for, working to helping niche farmers, mostly niche farmers, be able to treat their animals how they want to, and also all sorts of educational opportunities associated with that. Before I do this again, I need to make sure I actually have a little bit more of a blurb for that, because I'm just realizing.
I thought it was well done.
Good job. Maybe one week we'll cover a 1 minute sales pitch.
Yes, I think I need to do that. Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, Sorry, Larissa.
That's okay. We're just excited that you're here and to share your knowledge with everybody. And we also have Andrew Perkins from Mother Earth News. We're so excited that you're here. You do help us with our web stuff and all sorts of other amazing things. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks. Yeah. So my name's Andrew Perkins, as you can see. And for the last 22 years, I've been working with a company called Ogden Publications, and we publish a variety of brands and work with a variety of brands, not just publishing. One of which, and this is our largest one, is Mother Earth News. And since 2010, we've been producing in-person events that transitioned to online when the pandemic hit. That event's called the Mother Earth News Fair. And I oversee the event production for the company, as well as a few other areas of marketing within the company. And then my wife, Laura, and I also have sort of a side gig where we help agencies and companies, mostly small businesses, with help on their web initiatives and marketing and design and all sorts of things.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yay! Well, if you don't know, I'm Brittany Sweeney. I'm with the Livestock Conservancy. And before we jump into all these fun questions for Andrew, I'm going to play a quick 1 minute video from our sponsor, ManaPro. Thank you for sponsoring Marketing Mondays this year. We appreciate you. So stick around, just give us 1 minute, and then we'll be right back.
Champions, colleagues,
roommates,
and personal trainers.
Whatever role they play,
they're an important part of our lives.
In their quiet way,
and their not so quiet way.
they keep us young.
On our feet,
on the go.
They pull us back to nature
and push us toward the next adventure.
And as much as we count on them,
they count on us all the more.
To nurture their lives
with the same commitment.
To protecting them,
helping them grow
and thrive.
Treating them
as well as they treat us. By giving them a little more of our lives. Because no matter what role they play, out here
or in here,
we're here to make their lives the best they can be.
ManaPro, nurturing life.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, ManaPro. Thank you for featuring heritage breeds in your ad. We could not be more excited. I know I say excited like all the time, but I'm just like, yes.
They're great to work with.
Exactly. So we're talking with Andrew about websites today. Websites are one of the most important things you can have for your small business. And we'll just jump right in. So Andrew, why is a website important for farmers or small businesses?
Well, it's a good question. I think it's got varied answers, I would say, in my opinion. It kind of, when any business or individual ask themselves the question on if it makes sense to have our own website. It kind of starts with having an understanding of what the purpose of that website would be to function. So a small business or a farm website, it might be something that would be useful in just conveying information about what's happening on the farm, showing images and things that are happening on the farm, and just using the platform as a means of dialogue between the business or the farm and the rest of the community, all the way up to, is it going to be a commerce generating website? Is the farm interested in having direct to consumer sales? And if they are, would it make sense to not limit that to just a farmer's market or a co-op, but also through e-commerce on the website? So if the answer is yes to any of those things, then I think it's probably important to have a website, although there's other ways of getting about it. That said, we were just talking before we started the meeting, and Brittany and Samantha know that I had the good fortune of spending a couple of weeks in Hawaii over the holidays. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to visit a local coffee farm. And I thought it was very interesting that from their standpoint, they strategically don't have a website or social media presence, or anything, because they pride their business on strictly word of mouth. So that's a strategic decision that they made. It's very interesting.
Oh, wow. Didn't know people still did that.
Yeah. And I think it works for them because it's like this sense of the coveted coffee bean, that I know this guy and I can go up to his farm and get it. And that therefore he can charge astronomical prices for what actually is really, really, really good coffee.
Nice. That's cool. So do you think it's important for people? I know some people are like, oh, I don't need a website. I know people by word of mouth, or I've got a Facebook page. Can I just have a Facebook page or an Instagram and sell people, products that way? Do you see the benefit for people having a website over just a social presence?
Well, I think, I thought about that when you presented that question. And I think my take on that, and my take isn't necessarily going to be the right one, but having your own website empowers you so much more than just having a social media presence, in my opinion. For one thing, if you do want to do commerce, I think you can control that commerce a little bit better by having it on your own platform. I mean, I suppose you can use, you can sell items through Facebook and things like that. But I think in my preference, I would want to have more of that control and that flexibility to go in and move things around. And then secondly, I think that having just a social media presence, which is fine, and you definitely can get in front of a lot of people that way, but you also have all the distractions of everything around that platform. You're competing with so much other content that's not yours on there, whereas a website it's exclusively your channel for communicating with the audience. So it might be best to have both. And I should also throw out the fact that not everybody chooses to use social media too. So you would be limiting in that fact. I'd be curious what you guys think on that, though.
So I think, I have an opinion about pretty much everything,
which is great.
There's always the consideration when you use exclusively social media, that's not your content, that Facebook can shut you down, that Instagram can shut you down. Well, I guess Facebook is Instagram, but you don't own that. So anything you have on your website, you own. And so that's information that will never go away unless, I guess, you don't pay your bill to your
right.
And I also, Paige Jackson, who's a friend of mine, and she has a farm in North Carolina as well. And she is going to be on a future Marketing Monday. She's actually going to be talking about social media. She said something recently, which I thought was really interesting. And I love this idea, is that your Facebook is like your home. So for your business, that is the hub. That's the center of your business, is your website. And she would even go further to say your blog is the most important part of your farm, your marketing for your farm, or your online presence for your farm. And then everything else is something that supports that farm. So it's whatever you choose to use, whether it's you've got a podcast, or you're doing Facebook or Instagram, or whatever you're doing. All those things are there to lend support to your core, to your hub. And I think a lot of farmers, especially, the tendency is it's easy to start a Facebook page, and it's very daunting to start a website. And I think that's the biggest difference. I think you just have to change your mindset and realize that not only if you want to sell, or you want to be an educator, or you want to have any sort of online presence, you have got to have a website. Am I wrong in saying that? Or am I just stating my own opinion and it's not really true?
No, I find that to be the case as well. And, I always remind people that you can't sell stock on Facebook or Instagram. Like, they will shut you down if they find you selling animals. So that's always a sticking point for some people. And it's always better to be the owner of your own content. For whatever reason, if they mistakenly shut you down, then you're SOL. Like, you've got nothing, and you might lose all of your audience. So.
Well, I certainly would agree with that assessment. I think that if a family or a farm group prides itself in developing a successful farm business, whether that's a hobby business, or if that's what either you're shooting for or currently is your core business, then really it behooves you to have your own website so you can manage the content production yourself. And I'm hoping that in a little bit we can get into a little bit of the nitty gritty on it, because I think that, to Samantha's point, it can be daunting. There are a couple other steps, and there are a few layers of a little bit of difficulty when compared to just signing up for a Facebook account. But it's becoming less and less of a hurdle for people, even for lay folks, to get into. I mean, I got into it, and I don't have a technical background, so it shouldn't be daunting. And I hope one of the takeaways from this conversation today is relieving any sort of anxiety that anyone might have toward launching a new website.
Absolutely. If we can do it, you can also do it.
Right.
And we're here to help you. So don't feel overwhelmed or like, oh my goodness, I can't do it. So there are people and resources out there to help you. And we want to help you. We want you to be successful.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into some of that nitty gritty. What do you need for a successful website setup?
Well, the first thing, of course, is getting a domain name registered, right? So, and even if you are not at a point where you're ready to devote the time or the resources into setting up the website, if you have a strong brand, which is your farm name, I would guess in this case, then it's really worthwhile to go out there and see if you can register that domain, so that you can own it whenever it's time to do that. And hopefully, it's not something that's already taken, or if it is already taken, it's available at a fairly low cost. Domain names are easy to acquire. There's a lot of different services that you can purchase them through. I know a lot of folks that out there have used the service GoDaddy. I'm not a huge fan of that platform, but I think domain.com is another one. WordPress offers its own platform for hosting and domain registration. So you just go to any one of those, type in the name that you want to use, and it'll let you know if it's available, and if so, how much it is. And hopefully it's available for $1.
So Andrew, I have a question for you. So when I first did my website, I did it through Wix. Well, no, when I first did it, I can't remember who I used, but I ended up moving to Wix. So when I moved, I already had my domain name, which I actually ended up getting on my own. And but when I went to Wix offered to set me up with a domain name. Is there an advantage to just going through a disadvantage, I guess, to just going through whoever you happen to design your website with, or is it better if you do it separate from them?
I don't think there's a disadvantage to that at all. In fact, if you like the platform that you're working with, then it's, in my book, it would be best to have everything sort of in one spot,
But what if you change? What if you change and move to a different webs or platform?
In a lot of cases, yeah, in some cases. So I'm going to use an example, right? I've got a person that we've worked with. My wife and I have worked with. She's got an engraving company, okay, and she had her domain registered and her website hosted through GoDaddy, who I just mentioned, and she was not happy with the service and wanted to move the management of the website itself to another platform. And so what we did there was we went ahead and set them up on the new platform, and then using that platform, we transferred the domain from GoDaddy to, so you can transfer them. Sometimes you can just leave them where they're at. It just depends on really the kind of features that you want to get out of whatever platform that you're using. And I think if you're using one platform for domain registration, hosting the website, which we can talk about in a minute, and actually having the website, platform that you're using to create the site, just makes it so much easier that it's all in one place.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so that would be the first thing, would be registering for that domain. And then I mentioned just a second ago, the other question would, the other sort of hurdle to do, and sometimes you can do this, both the domain registration and this, which is hosting the website, finding out where you want to have it hosted. I'll mention, there's lots of different platforms like Wix, like WordPress, like Squarespace, that have really developed some pretty incredible tools to help individuals who have basically no technical background set up a really good looking website and good functioning website easily. When some people have asked if I'm a web developer, and I quickly say no, I'm not, because in my opinion that implies that you have a vast knowledge of code. And the truth of the matter is that while having some understanding of code is helpful, or at least understanding how it works is helpful, there's tools out there that make it available for people to go out and establish their own website quickly and without having to know that code. And I say all that because hopefully that's an important takeaway as far as easing the stress level of starting a website. And I promise you, it gets even easier when you actually get in there in some of these programs and start messing around with them. But those platforms also often offer hosting solutions. And so it's really one-stop shop depending on where you want to go. And I should also add that if the mission of the business is to drive commerce, of the website is to drive commerce, then it may even make sense to establish the website directly through an e-commerce platform, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some of those e-commerce ones?
Well, the big one out there, there's two really, really big ones out there. Actually, there's probably three, but the two that are really kind of common speak are, so there's WordPress, which is a platform that started out as a blogging platform, as a way for anybody out there to publish their own blogs, which is basically a fancy word for a website-based journal. But WordPress has now grown into the biggest website build-out platform in the world, and they have. So written by those engineers is an e-commerce engine called Woocommerce. And so Woocommerce is the platform that goes hand in hand with WordPress. So that's one. And then the other.
I always wondered what Woocommerce was. Now I know. Okay, thank you. Because
one thing today. I love it.
It gets so confusing because there's so many out there, and I'm like, Woocommerce, sort of a cute name, but Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
So the nice thing about Woocommerce is that if you do have a site that's built out on WordPress, then those e-commerce pieces kind of get enveloped right in the whole architecture of the WordPress site. So it just makes it really convenient to work between the two, the commerce section and the content section.
Right.
And then the other big one out there, of course, is Shopify. And at Mother Earth News, we're actually in the process of converting our internal e-commerce system over to Shopify. We've been running a sort of what I call a beta test with one of our brands, Mother Earth Living, on the Shopify platform for a couple of months now. It's really slick. It makes beautiful shopping pages and a beautiful shopping experience. And in the 2 months that we've been on there, we've seen revenues grow 50% year over year comparison.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So now we're going to be transitioning all of them over there. So my days are going to be busy. So I hope that makes sense. And actually, our websites are on the WordPress platform, much like the Livestock Conservancy's is. And that didn't sway us on whether or not we should use, because I was talking about WooCommerce a little bit ago. At first, I was kind of championing that. Why wouldn't we use WooCommerce if the websites are all on WordPress? But actually, there's a couple of what's called plugins that connect the Shopify platform with a WordPress site. So we opted to go that way because of some of the other features. Shopify, I should add, and this is really important, I think, to the people who are, interested in learning more about how they can build out an e-commerce platform with their website. So come two key distinct differences between, I'm going to pick on these two, Shopify and WooCommerce, is that WooCommerce is a completely open source platform, meaning that there's not one big company that wrote everything to make it function the way it functions. It's all of these developers out there in the developer world that have built, various plugins. So for example, I want to be able to take orders here, but I also want to take phone orders. Well, there's some developer has written a plugin that allows that phone order capability to be added to that WooCommerce site. So you have this large universe of different plugins that do all these slightly different things that you can pull in and cater, customize the website to do exactly what you want it to do from an e-commerce standpoint, but you have to do it. And Shopify, on the other hand, is a large company that basically has all those features built in. They also have plugins for doing different things, but the baseline commerce infrastructure is already done and built out, and you're paying a little bit more for that, but you're not spending near as much time customizing it.
Nice.
So
That's
is
awesome.
there, so I don't know very many farmers who use Shopify. Is there, why is that? Most everybody is using Barn to Door or, one of those. And we use Square, and then we use the Weebly as our store, which is associated with Square, just because that's our point of sale, because we sell at farmers markets. But we're moving to Barn to Door just because there's a lot of things that Square can't do that Barn to Door can do for us. And a lot of it is some of our items need to be open all the time, and some of our items get closed out because they're pre-orders for pickup at markets. So
and you can't get that out of Square /Weebly?
I've tried for 2 years. I'm not going to say anything negative about anything because I'm here as a fact employee, but I curse a lot at Square, a lot.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, and my experience. I don't know why farmers aren't using Shopify, and literally, there could be a very specific reason why not. But in my experience thus far, it's been pretty robust in terms of what it can do and what it can't do.
Right. I just wonder how it would handle sort of those the pre-orders and pack sheets and all that kind of thing that you wouldn't have if you're selling literature or you're selling something that's just an online thing. But when you actually have something that you have to take to market, or you have to, pack up for your farm pickups and that kind of stuff, that's sort of one of the nice things about Barn to Door. It's going to save me a lot of time because it'll have pack sheets for me and pick sheets. I guess you want to call them pick sheets, whatever you want to call them. Right now, I do it in Word, in Excel, but it's going to save me a step, which will be nice. So anyway, I didn't look at Shopify. It's probably cheaper than Barn to Door because Barn to Door is not cheap.
Well, like anything, there's half a dozen different levels that you can get in on depending on how big your business is and what you need it to do. Speaking in terms of Shopify, Woocommerce is in and of itself is free, but then you're paying for the different elements that you want to bring into it to make it do what you want to do. I think Google or whatever preferred search engine that you use is your friend in this case. And I've found that anytime I want to get very specific, like I want to say, you said that your website's in Wix now, but you're using the e-commerce functionality on it is using Weebly.
No, my website is on Wix because it's been on Wix forever, and I don't want to change it because that seems like too much work.
Okay.
But then because my point of sale is through Square, then I also have a Square store, and my Square store they used to be through Square, but then they stopped that, and now that's a Weebly. It's a Weebly add-on, I guess, that they have. So I have my store, and then I have my point of sale, and now I'm going to have I'm going to have too many things. It's going to probably make me crazy, but I like.
We'll need to combine them all.
Well, I like Wix though. I really like how easy it was to set up and how easy it is to update. I mean, it really is. It works for my brain. It's very much click and drag. You do not have to be a genius to do it. And I'm here to show you that you don't have to be a genius.
Yeah. So in that case, and I haven't looked at it yet, but if you hear of another shopping platform like a WooCommerce or and Barn to Door might be a perfect solution for farmers. I don't have any experience with it, so I'm not sure, and it could be great. But if you hear of I've heard of this Shopify, what is it and will it work for me? Then do a search for Shopify and Wix websites, and it could be that Shopify has a Wix integration that would make it possible. Yeah. That's kind of where I start everything. Like, find out if somebody else has had this problem before. Documented it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that Googles everything super specific, like how to do this and this.
Right.
I'm terrible. I never get what I want. So then I just hand it over to my husband, who I don't know. He knows the magic search words, and he can find out everything for me. And I just do it for me, and tell me what I want to know.
Just magically delegate. It's perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like too bad of a deal.
Do you want to take some questions before we get a little bit deeper?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Hi, Lisa Marie. Happy Marketing Monday. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Lisa.
Let's see. Hi, Sabra. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. Sabra says, we have a farm website, www.flaghillfarm.com, principally to sell our hard cider, but we incorporate our sheep into our organic apple orchard, and I'm keeping sheep just for wool. There's a second part. Should I incorporate the wool biz with cider and vinegar or keep it separate, especially Instagram? They're different audiences.
That's a good question.
So that is a good question.
So if I'm understanding correctly, is it Sabra? I'm having trouble.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Sabra. So are you currently not selling the wool? Because you're focused on selling the cider and the vinegar on the website available. I would probably, if I had all of those different categories of selling, I probably would look into a creative way or a clever way of incorporating it all. And most of the e-com sites are pretty good about setting up an appropriate taxonomy that works for you. And so you can have those different categories, but you can even mix and match items and stuff like that. I mean, I know my wife would probably be interested in ordering the cider and getting some wool for fiber art at the same time. But yeah, I would argue for doing it all if you can.
Same. I would keep them together. I know the audiences are different, but when I order things, I am like, oh, what's this? And then I'm like, oh, what's that? And I'm going to order one of all the things.
So I would agree, Sabra, because I have a diversified livestock farm. So I do a lot of different things. And I also do summer camps and I teach a lot of classes. And those things are very different, even though they're farm related. But I feel like that you get a lot more traction if you can build up your audience in one of those, it's hard enough to build up an audience in one social media or one Instagram account than having to do it for multiples. And I think you sort of feed off of one another.
Plus, what a really cool and unique story that you guys have to tell of the diversified things that you're into. And I think that telling that story is a part of the content strategy for your website, I would think. Because, there's a bazillion websites out there. And so think about what's going to make your website completely unique. And it's the things that you're doing, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love that story of how the sheep can help with the apples and the vinegar and how it all works together. And I think that's really unique and that you could definitely capitalize on that. Awesome question. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Lisa Marie says, we have a Facebook and Insta and we do really well marketing. How beneficial is it to have an actual website? And then she has a second part to that. Is it better to pay for a domain and then use those free website platforms?
Well, I think if you have a business that's registered, let's answer the first question first about is it better to have an actual website? So Lisa, Marie, if you missed the first part of our conversation, we were talking a little bit about that. And I thought Samantha had a good point that I think a friend shared with her, which is having a website for your business allows you to control 100% of the content, 100% of the messaging. And then if it's a commerce website, allows you to customize and establish the commerce functionality the way you need to do it. And in our collective minds, the folks on this call, we kind of feel like the website should be the hub for all that activity, all of your content, so you can most effectively market your business. And then social media, podcasts, all these ancillary email, newsletter, that kind of thing should all be sort of like the rings around the planet, so to speak, and the planet being the website. So I think that's a really good strategy. And then the second part of the question was,
I like the rings around the planet. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I was saying earlier that on the whole website sort of ambition here, it all starts with registering a domain name. And I think that if you have a brand and it's one that you love because it's your brand and it's your farm name or whatever, regardless if you if you plan or don't plan on at least initially setting up its own website, I would see if you could register that brand as its own domain, because that brand's your highest thing of value, right? It's sort of your baby, and so you don't want somebody else to have that domain unless somebody else already has it for whatever reason. So I was just going to say, my wife and I have a company called Bluestem Creative. Actually, we just call it Bluestem. But of course, when we went out there to get the domain, Bluestem is like way already taken, and like it was like $10,000 to get it, and so then we're just thinking of all the different ways we can say the name, and finally we found a domain that was enough about that company brand and affordable that it all worked out, we think. But it's super easy, just domain.com or GoDaddy.com and just do a search for that term and see if it's available.
So I want to give I really think it's important to have a website. If you're trying to drive any sort of sales or marketing or anything like that, I think it's or just trying to get your name out there, because maybe you're just trying to be, you're selling online classes, or you're doing, I don't know, whatever you're doing. I think it's really, really important to have a website. I know that being on the board of farmers market, so if somebody wants to sign up or wants to try and be a vendor at a farmers market, the first thing everybody looks for is a website. Anybody can have an Instagram account, but it's just taking that next step. It's almost like in your business, it's a level of seriousness and a level of commitment, and it's not expensive. I mean, you can do it for free. So it's not like there's a cost barrier there, and you don't have to have much in the way of skills, because there's so many sort of just, click and whatever you call it, click and drag, or whatever that correct term is. So it's really easy to do, and I think it just shows a level of seriousness and professionalism to have a website. And I'm not trying to be snooty about it or anything, but I do think it's, I don't know. If you want to be taken seriously, you got to have a website.
Well, it gives you legitimacy. Like,
yeah, can I say that kind of thing, or is that sort of mean?
No, that's right. It gives you legitimacy. No. And as a young person, the first thing we do is Google you to see. And like a lot of younger people do a lot of online shopping and a lot of online Googling. And if you don't have a website, I'm probably not going to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, I can think of a personal example. It's like if I hear about a restaurant, if I go and look for their website and they only have a Facebook page, that drives me nuts, because I want to see the menu. I want to see what's going on. Right. What am I getting into? And I think one sees that all the time. And like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of barriers that have been taken down in terms of the complexity of setting up a new website. A lot of great platforms that use that drag and drop.
Mm-hmm. Drag and drop. Is that what it is?
Templates. Well, I think the jargon for it, I think what they call it in the web build speak is WYSIWYG, which stands for.
I like that. I'm going to use that from now on but nobody will know what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah, that stands for what you see is what you get. And so the template is, when you're putting it together, that's actually how it's pretty much going to look, although you'll still want to look at it live just to make sure.
And I don't think you can overlook or not emphasize enough that idea of controlling the message. And you can't necessarily do that with Facebook. If you look at somebody, you have to really dig to see what a farm is about on Facebook. Facebook is a way to, or Instagram or social media is a way to sort of beef up what you're already saying on your website, in my mind. So it's I don't do it very well, so I can't really say too much about it. But as far as your website, that is the message. When somebody's looking you up, that's what you want them to know about you. Whereas they're not going to get that necessarily easily on Facebook or Instagram unless they start following you and, keeping up with you and stalking you and stuff.
Yeah. And if if commerce is part of your plan, it's really, and you're wanting it to be an increasing part of the business, especially if online transactions are important to the business, then, I think it's going to be really important for folks to be able to integrate all that inventory management and fulfillment and, as well as the front end of the shopping site, as easily and as seamlessly as possible. And you just can't do that selling stuff strictly through Facebook or whatever. So in a commerce scenario, the website is key, I think, for the commerce functionality part of it. And then you use the social media platforms and things like that to draw people back so they buy from you.
Yes. So it's that central hub you were talking about, and then you just drive everybody there, and then that'll boost your Google rankings.
Yeah.
These are all wonderful, questions. If you have any more, type them in, send us some comments. We love all these amazing questions. So thank you for asking those. We appreciate you. Let's see. I think, Sam, you had a question about how detailed your website should be. So we have a about us page to talk about, your story and how you got started and really tell people who you are, and a contact page and possibly a commerce buy stuff page. Is there other stuff people should have? The Livestock Conservancy has a massive website because we have a lot of stuff, but people don't need that much. It's really too many pages. So.
Yeah, I think out of the box, it's kind of fundamental to have, you obviously you got your homepage, and that's, a very straightforward, this is who we are and this is what we do, right? And then about us page, which gives you more detail about maybe the history of what the farm is, and some good information about where your story came from. And then it could be as simple as those two plus a blog page, which is where you're going to put the most recently updated content, and you're just going to constantly be adding content to that page, and then set it up in a way that on your homepage shows a little snippet of that new content and directs people over. So it could be just as little as those three pages and a contact page. If your primary business as a farm is to communicate through your website your activity, either inviting people to the farm or where you're going to be in the community, like the farmers market and whatnot, then a calendar page would probably be a good thing to add to it. And then there's the commerce side, Yeah. And some people, I mentioned this earlier, like we were talking about Shopify, for example. Like if you're primarily wanting to develop a website for e-commerce purposes, then one might elect to build a site directly through an e-commerce platform like Shopify and just use they call them themes. So use a shop theme.
So my daughter is 25, and she is very opinionated. And she 2 years ago went through my website. Brittany knows my daughter, so she knows that this is true. And she told me that my website was just for old people, and that I needed to make it as simple as possible because I had way too many things on it. And so I don't know, if you're appealing to a younger audience, then apparently the fewer pages you have, the better off you are. And you do need to, when you're thinking about your website, realize that most people are probably looking on their phones at your website. So usually when you're developing those, they have the option to see it in mobile view. Right. And make sure, because I didn't do that either. So I did everything wrong, according to her.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very important. I think, right now at this point in time in the whole horizon of the internet, I think it's something like, the percentile is 60 to 70% of your websites getting viewed on a phone versus a desktop. And because of that, and some folks have questions like, I don't even have to think about how it looks like on a phone versus a desktop. But a lot of the platforms that we've been talking about utilize what's called, and this is another bit of jargon, responsive design. And so there's stuff in the code that you don't have to sweat over and that you don't have to worry about, that tells it, like, if there's 3 images across the top, that if it goes to phone, those images should stack and things like that. So it automatically creates a design that's responsive to the various platforms that you're looking on. And so it makes it very easy for the website owner, because they just have to kind of look at the different pieces and look at it on what it's going to look like on mobile versus a tablet versus a desktop, and if it's a good platform that's responsive, then it's taken care of.
Absolutely, that's super important. And you're also going to want good photos.
Yes. Yes.
I can't say enough things about how important it is to have good photos on your website, because people want to see your farm. They want to see what it looks like. They want to see your animals. They want to see you. They want to connect with you. They go to your website and they see you with your animals, and they go to the market and they're like, oh yeah, that's the person I'm looking for.
That's right.
And
that's
really
right.
Connect your story to the people, because that's really important. So if you have, you can hire a photographer. I mean, cell phone photos can work, but if you have the time and effort, then I would definitely suggest good photos on your website.
That's a good point. I would say if there's anything to recommend as far as getting assistance on, it's knowing somebody who knows what kind of resolution quality is appropriate for the images that are going to appear on the website, because and how to size them appropriately and things like that. So somebody with good Photoshop experience would be a good person to tap into when it comes to it's time to put images up on the website.
Absolutely. That's something we struggle with, like, is good photography. It's not just people out in the field, it's us too, like Livestock Conservancy, and something we're working through. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Andrew knows he's working through all of our photos right now.
Very good point.
And bless you for it.
Well, it's hard to get a good quality of that duck when it's waddling away from you.
It really is. They're very fast. They're deceptively fast. Let me put that.
Right.
You're like, oh, it's just waddling. It's fine. You're like, you get the camera out and they move, and you're like, oh, so close.
Hey,
Well,
Brittany, somebody's asking if there's a replay option in the chat.
Yes. So as soon as this ends, you'll be able to rewatch it. Let me see if I can find that question. So Jean, if we've missed you, there is a replay option. You can, as soon as this ends, you'll be able to replay it. But since it's live right now, you can't. So probably in like another 15, 20 minutes, you'll be able to watch it again. We'll also put it up on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it there, if that's easier for you. So yes, thank you. Great question. And then, hi, Wendy. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here. Wendy says, pictures are key. Good pictures draw people in, and bad photos will scare people off. That's a great point.
That's right, Wendy.
Wendy also says we take 100 pictures to get 2 good ones.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how it goes for everybody. It's not just you. You take like 300 and you're like, oh, I got one. Or you think it's good and then it ends up being blurry when you look at it big. You're like,
Actually, that is a good point, Wendy, to do take lots of pictures, because you're going to want them. You're going to be glad you did.
Absolutely.
Well, I went out in the snow the other day because we had 3 inches of snow, which for us is really, really exciting here in North Carolina. And so I went out to take some great snow, because it leaves. So you have, it thaws really fast. So you've got a day to take pictures. I took so many pictures the other day, and like Wendy, I got 2 good ones. And one of them was my sheep. She had her tongue sticking out. So I thought it looked great when I took the picture. It was of her and myself, and then she was sticking her tongue out at me. So anyway.
That's so funny.
She was hamming it up.
Oh, totally.
That's perfect. Well, Andrew, we were talking a little bit about jargon. Is there any other helpful terminology or jargon that people should know when they start looking for stuff for their website?
Yeah, probably the we kind of went over some of the basic essentials. The domain name. Some people's level of understanding on things that pertain to website may be greater than others. So I apologize if I'm talking about the most basic stuff, but there's your domain name. There's the URL, which is your website address. Then there are, let's see, we talked about hosting. So all websites are basically a visual database, and the database has to live somewhere on a server. And now a lot of those servers are what they call in the cloud. There's another term. Meaning that they're not sitting in your home, right? They're in a place that can be accessed via the internet, okay? And so finding a solution that you want to work with, a lot of times I advise or suggest to people, it's a good idea to find a hosting solution that also can be, the web platform that you're going to use for the site itself, but they don't have to be. You can have a website on WordPress and it be hosted on GoDaddy, for example. So there's some other terminologies, that you're going to, when you get into it, you're going to hear things that are more for the developer community. It's going to talk about, so websites are all coded in a version of HTML. There's a newer version than there was previously, than there was before that and before that. But it's still basic HTML code. And then the design of it and how it looks and feels uses a set of code, which is different than HTML called CSS and JavaScript. And I know these are the kind of things that are gonna intimidate people more than anything else, but those are the three. So there's those three and a couple of other computer languages that all come together to make up what you're seeing on the website. But the platforms that you'll want to choose basically take care of all of that behind the scenes. It is good to have a relationship, somebody you can call in case something goes wrong, because stuff will go wrong, who can help sort of bail it out or fix it or run to a backup of your site. That's another tip that I'll throw out to anybody who's thinking about starting a website, is that when you've selected your hosting company, make sure to set it up so that backups are running on a routine, meaning they happen automatically every night at, say, 11 o'clock. And that way, if you're in there doing something and something goes haywire, you can go to that backup just like a snap. It saved me a lot.
That's so important. Always back up.
Yeah. I've been on the flip side too.
Is that something even like in Wix or something that you can just do? You just have to go into the settings and figure it out?
I don't know. I'll look into it and let you know.
Thank you. Now I'm nervous. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight until I have my stuff being backed up. Come on, Andrew.
No, it's definitely something that I recommend to folks do right out of the gate, because when you start working with these platforms, they're built in a way to make it easy, meaning I want to do this special, unique thing that not every website owner needs. Like, I want to include a calendar page that's interactive on my website, meaning they can flip through it and see where I'm going to be when. And so they'll find a plugin where somebody's already wrote the program for that, and I just need to add it. But so they do, and it may not sync well with something else you added to the website a while back, and all of a sudden your website's down. So it's always good to have those backups so you can go to them.
Oh yes, just in case. You don't want to lose everything and then just be like, oh. That's everyone's worst nightmare.
Right.
All that work.
I think we've got another question. Let's see. Wendy says, what is the best way to get to the top of a search without having to pay Google?
So actually, with the Livestock Conservancy site, which again is a WordPress site, they're using so what you're calling about, Wendy, is SEO, search engine optimization. And you're wanting to develop organic SEO for your website, meaning you don't want to have to pay Google to get it to the top of a search result. And there's hundreds of different tools, including within Google, that are tools to help, sync the content on your site with popular search terms and things like that, called keywords. But to make things a little bit easier, there's some other tools that are on the website side of things. And Livestock Conservancy is using one called Yoast. And Yoast allows you to go, or is a tool that helps you go in and identify all the different things that Google's looking for when it crawls, certain websites based on particular search terms. So it helps you with things like coming up with a key phrase that is pretty critical for all web pages, coming up with a meta description for all web pages, which is the description of of what that page actually is, but it exists behind the scenes where the search engines are crawling. The key to all of this is to not try to game it. Make sure that it's clear what every page is supposed to be, who it's for, and then to set up those, the key phrase, the metadata, so that it is legitimately what those pages are about. And if you do that and somebody's searching for something that you're involved in, then you should have pretty good luck. It may not get you all the way to the top. There's lots of other factors. I can go on and on and on for hours, but I would say the main rule of thumb is keywords, key phrase, metadata, and make it very clear what each page is supposed to be and what it's for and who it's for.
I took notes. That was really useful. Thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
That's really how you take your website to the next level, is like you've got all of your pages, you've got your pictures, you're set up, and then the next part is like going into the back end and really trying to work all of that stuff back there with keywords and phrasings and snippets. And we could do a whole nother one just on like back end for your website.
We may want to, because there's so much stuff that I didn't even mention here. The length of content matters, meaning how many words are on that page. If it's too short, that's going to impact your rankings on search. If it's too long, it could impact your rankings on search. You guys know if you ever go out and search for a recipe, like I want to make, the world's best, I think I looked up world's best broccoli cheddar soup the other day. And nice. you end up on one of those top recipe pages. I know everybody here has had this experience. And you open that recipe page and you have to scroll 1,000 miles down to get to that recipe, right? Well, that's because all of that content above that, that's not really, you can read through all that if you want, but it's not really there for your entertainment and education. That's all SEO. That's written that way and that long because they want Google to rank that page #1 for broccoli cheddar soup. And it's effective. And they do that because they get more traffic that way. And when they get more traffic that way, they get more ad revenue, which is why you see all those little ads on those recipe pages too. So
and you get all the top
SEO is an important thing for page rankings for sure.
Andrew, just so you know, I have a really good cheese and broccoli soup.
Awesome.
It's true.
I'll take it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. Well, these have been such wonderful questions. We're going to wrap up. Andrew, is there anything else you think people should know as they're getting started with their websites before we jump into our shameless plugs at the end?
No, I think we kind of covered most of it, which is, start first by asking yourself, like, what's the purpose of this website going to be? Is it just informational? Is it a form of communication that is going to be, is it something that you just want to stick it up there and be like, I'm done, it's up there and I'll update it every 3 times a year or something like that? Or is it at a higher level? Is it designed to be a commerce thing? Once you've answered those questions, it'll help, I think, navigate you into the most, the proper solutions as far as platform and hosting and all that stuff. And if you haven't yet, take your farm name and go see if you can register a domain for it.
Yes, always start with your goals. Like, what is it that you want to accomplish? And think about that before you get into any of the pretty stuff. Like, I like to use this picture of my sheep. And it's the not fun stuff, but it'll help you be more successful in the end.
Right. Yeah.
I've got like sticky notes for everything. And I'm like, I wanted to do this, and this is my audience. And then,
Yeah. It really, like we've been saying all along, there's some great tools and platforms out there that can make people who aren't as tech savvy as others to get their own website off the ground. But it's overwhelming how much there is and how many directions you can go. And so having an idea of what your purpose is going to be for it really narrows it down for you.
And I think also looking at other people's websites, seeing what you like, because that'll sort of, then you can, don't copy them exactly, but, so they can give you an idea of how to structure your website. So if that website felt good for you, then, and that's the way you want to present yourself, then that's the way you should do it.
Absolutely. And you can have the same format. You're not going to have the same story or the same photos, but, the similar format could be helpful. That way you're like, I want my website to look like this. Mm-hmm. That will help you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Always Google your competitors and your friends and see what you like and what you don't like, and then you know what to do and what not to do.
Andrew, this is really good stuff. You shared a lot of really cool information.
Good. Well, thanks. It was a pleasure to be here with you guys today. And it sounds like maybe we'll do one down the line on SEO alone, huh?
Absolutely. Yes. If people like this and you want to know more, like send us a comment, send me an email, contact us, let us know if this is helpful or not. That way we know if we should keep doing more complicated stuff or more basic stuff. We want to be helpful to you wherever you're at in your marketing needs. So just let us know. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Samantha. I'm so excited to kick off our first Marketing Monday of the year. This was so fun. I learned so much. I hope it was helpful. And then let's do some shameless plugs. Andrew, is there anything that you want to plug today? I know we've got your website, so if you enjoyed Andrew's chat, you can find him at Blue Stem Creative Co. So BLUESTEM creativeco.com.
Yeah, if there are any questions, if you guys have want to get some more ideas tossed around on any of your website initiatives, feel free to reach out through that website. Also, visit motherearthnews.com. And if you can, check out our event schedule and our online courses for all things wiser living, from cooking to gardening to farming. You can go to ogdenpubs.com and find links to all of our brands, including Mother Earth News.
Yes, please do that. Please check out Andrew's stuff. He's amazing. We're so lucky to have him on, have him helping us with Livestock Conservancy web stuff. So we'd be lost without him. I'm so appreciative.
Thank you. It's been a fun project, and the website looks great.
Oh, it's because you're doing awesome work. And Sam, I've got the foodanimalconcerns.org up here. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Absolutely. We are in the process of our webinar series for the spring. We've got a lot of really great things coming up. You can go to the foodanimalconcerns.org to / I think it is webinars. You can look at past webinars and what's coming up. We've got a lot of really cool stuff going on, and maybe we can even have Andrew do a webinar at some point. That would be brilliant.
That'd be fun.
And we've just closed out it would be. It'd be great. I'll have to tell Larissa. We've just closed out our grants. So I'm used to saying, be sure to apply for our grants or our mentorship program, but both of those are closed out, and we're getting ready to award those and all that kind of stuff. But next year we'll have some more.
Yay! Yes, go to the FACT website. They have amazing stuff. Can't say enough good things about them.
There's a lot of cool stuff there.
And then if you are enjoying this content and you're a member and a supporter, thank you for, helping make that possible. We're so thrilled and so, excited and grateful that we can have helpful guests come on and talk about marketing projects because of your support. So thank you for that. And if you're not a member and you want to become a member, just go to our website at livestockconservancy.org and find a level that works for you. You can do the Conservation Champion, which is $4 a month. I think I drink more coffee a day than that.
Yeah, well worth it.
I'm an addict. I can't help myself. Or you can find another level that works for you. But we appreciate your support, and we're so grateful that we can provide programming like this. And thank you again to ManaPro for sponsoring this chat this year. We appreciate your support as well. We hope you'll join us again next month. I almost said next week, but we're not doing Marketing Monday next week. We are doing it next month at the end of February, I believe. Let me pull that up. I was clearly not prepared. Yes, February 28th, we'll be talking to Jennifer Kendall about building your brand. So if you're interested in that, we hope that you'll join us. Until then, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.